What's up, everybody? So it was a great weekend of boxing, and mainly because, and I could say it was a great week of boxing because what did we get? We had Inoue Fulton on Tuesday, we had Estrada Utica on a Friday, and then we had the big one, Spence versus Crawford on Saturday night, and Crawford showed his greatness. He let us know, and you're looking at me right now. I'm tired. I'm tired. I didn't even wait. Usually I wait till the morning to record these. I'm doing it tonight because I wanted to get this down. I wanted to tell you my thoughts on this. And it was a thorough domination. Crawford showed us how great he is. He is, man. There was at no point did I think Spence was going to actually come back or he had a shot of winning that fight. No chance whatsoever. Crawford, it was like, even if you thought they were here, when you watch this fight, it looked like this. By the third round, it was like this. Probably by the second round. It was, because the first round, okay, many people gave it to Spence. And even that was razor thin. That was razor thin round. But if you give Spence one round, that would be it. Spence goes down in round two. You can clearly see the speed difference was very apparent. Crawford was faster. That jab and that southpaw stance, that was genius. That ended up being genius from Crawford, and he stayed in it. Usually we see Crawford switching. He stayed in that southpaw stance because it was working. It was working, and he was firing that straight right hand. I say straight, but it was jab. He was firing that jab right at Spence, and Spence wasn't reacting well to it. His punch resistance didn't see well, and maybe that's Crawford's power, but man, Spence didn't seem all that right on the night. And Crawford was just great. I mean, even when Spence was trying to tag him, Crawford was catching. He was catching everything. He was catching a lot of what Spence was throwing at him on the gloves. And you could tell Crawford was just growing in his belief. He already believed anyway, but it just felt like it was just growing. It was snowballing. And eventually, Spence was going to fall and be crushed under the weight of that Crawford avalanche. And he absolutely was. So he went down again in the seventh. And then I want to say it was twice in the seventh. Because it was like at the end of the seventh, he went down again. Like right before the bell was ringing, he went down again. And at that point, I was like, man, they might want to think about stopping it. They might want to think about stopping it because he wasn't looking too good, man. His body language wasn't good, but he was fighting with so much heart. And credit to Spence. Spence has so much heart. He kept coming, he kept fighting. They were going to have to drag him out of that ring. And that's exactly what happened in the ninth round. TKO 9 Crawford. Harvey Doc stops the fight as he should. Spence it was just going to get worse from there. He was walking to the wrong corner at times during the fight. So I'm glad it was a good stoppage. Greatness shown by Terrence Bud Crawford. Undisputed in the second weight class. He was first undisputed at 140. Now he's undisputed at 147. And he's the only male to ever do it, to become undisputed in two weight classes. Larissa Shields has done it on the female side, and she was the first. But in the four-belt era, Crawford was the first male. So props to him. Tremendous. This is when boxing gets it right. We all wanted this fight. We were anticipating this fight. Give us these big nights. Give us the best fighting the best. And this is what you're going to get. People were buzzing. Online was on fire. Twitter was on, or what's it called, X now? Come on, Elon. That was on fire. So it was all good. I love the fight. I bought the fight. I paid for it. I supported the fighters. And I was not disappointed. It was a great $85. It's a great $85. All right. So what's next for Crawford? So after the fight, they were talking about Spence. Or in the press conference, Spence said he was going to ask for a rematch. And even talking to Jim Gray, he said he wanted to activate the rematch clause. And I guess it's a 6-month clause. So he was talking about in December. That was a beating, man. I don't know if I even want to see the rematch, but they're talking about it being at 154. It's at 154 that might be better as far as Spence making weight. And even Crawford said at the press conference that he was having a tough time making weight at 147. So it looks like we're going to get it again. It'll be Crawford Spence 2. And it'll be at 154 for no belts. Or if Jamel Crawford drops any of the belts, it could be for one of those 154 belts. It could be. But we'll just have to see what happens in the coming months, because we still got to see what happens with Charlo and Canelo when they fight in September and what's going to happen with the belts there. But aside from belts, the fight is fire. And even if they fight again at 154, I don't see the outcome being any different. I really don't see the outcome being any different. But I'm hoping that we get a better Spence and probably a more competitive fight at 154. But I don't think the outcome's going to change. I really don't. But thank you to both of those fighters for giving us a great night of boxing. And I'm just indebted to that. I'll never forget it. It's definitely in the lore, the boxing history books. And it was a phenomenal performance by Bud Crawford. Nobody can take it away. Undisputed 147 champ. Number 2, so Santiago defeats Nonito Donaire. That was on the undercard. It was before the Isaac Cruz fight that we'll talk about next. But it was before that fight, and Donaire lost. Santiago did his thing. And I don't know what's next for Donaire. Donaire was bidding to become a 4-time bantamweight champion, which is crazy. Nonito Donaire, he's 40 years old, and he's 40 years old, still competing at world level. So respect and props to him. But this might be a sign it's time. It might be a sign it's just time. And Father Time's undefeated, as they say. And I think for Nonito Donaire, it's now that time. So Santiago wins. Maybe he'll face the winner of the Emmanuel Rodriguez fight in a couple weeks, and they'll unify titles at bantamweight. But for now, this was Santiago's night. I'd give a salute to the legend, Nonito Donaire, 40 years old, still doing his thing. He clocked Santiago a few times, especially early on, but Santiago was the better fighter on the night. Right man won, and respect to him being the WBC bantamweight champion. Number 3, Isaac Cruz defeats Cabrera. All right, it was by a unanimous decision. But I will also say this was a failure of Isaac Cruz to impress for a Gervonta Davis rematch. He just wasn't impressive to me. There is nothing about Isaac Cruz that makes me think he's going to beat Gervonta Davis. He's one-dimensional. Did you see what he was doing? If you watch that fight, Isaac Cruz continually do the same thing. Any top lightweight beats Isaac Cruz. Devin Haney would, oh my gosh, he wouldn't lose a round. Devin Haney would not lose a round against Isaac Cruz. Shakur Stevenson would not lose a round against Isaac Cruz. None of those. Vasyl Lomachenko would beat Isaac Cruz handily. All those fighters, because those fighters I mentioned can box, and they know Isaac Cruz cannot. Not right now. Isaac Cruz likes to counterpunch. He likes to counterpunch, and it's always the same. It's the same cadence, it's the same thing. Oh, you throw this punch, I'm gonna throw this wide hook and try to hit you either to the body or the head. Now, of course, he does have, I would say, above average speed. Not great speed, but he does have above average speed, so people can't get clocked. But as you notice, it's not like a one-punch power type of knockout guy. So those boxers can maneuver around that. So I do, even though congrats to Isaac Cruz for getting the victory, I don't want to see him fight Gervonta Davis next. What I want to see is Isaac Cruz fight Frank Martin. Cruz versus Martin next, and the winner fights Gervonta Davis. That clearly makes the most sense to me. Put that fight as a Showtime main event, obviously not pay-per-view. I'm going to be glued watching it, especially knowing the stakes at hand with the winner will be facing Gervonta Davis. So that's what I want to see. Hopefully Showtime PBC can make that fight next, because Cruz should not be going in there with Gervonta Davis. Not next, because it's going to be the same outcome. He's going to lose. But he got the victory against Cabrera. He's stepping in the right direction. You want to get active? He's back active. So hopefully he can come out and have another fight before the end of the year. Probably going to be early next year, and then we'll see how he does from there, or who he fights. Hopefully it's Frank Martin, though. On to the next for Isaac Cruz, y'all. Number 4, Seniesa Estrada defeats Utica. It was by unanimous decision, 97-93 on all scorecards. That's exactly how I scored it, 97-93. Utica feels like she was kind of done wrong there. I don't think so. I just think her corner was giving her bad advice as far as when they were telling her that, oh, you won that round, you're ahead now. But she was fighting better. With that information, you can see she picked up her energy as the fight went on. But I had Estrada, I think she lost. I had her lose in the second round, and then I had her winning 3, 4, 5, 6, and I had Utica winning 7 and 8, and then Estrada won, I guess what you say, the women's championship rounds, which is 9 and 10. So, and I thought it was pretty easy to score that fight. Estrada was doing some good things. She's constantly switching in there. That's just what she does. But I will say it wasn't a clean performance because Utica put the pressure on her. She doesn't have knockouts to show on her record, but Utica is a solid fighter. She's never fought at strawweight. This was her first fight at strawweight, and she was hitting Estrada with some heat. So it makes you wonder, with that Yokasta Valle, maybe unification for undisputed fight later in the year. I really hope they make that fight. You got to give Yokasta Valle a shot. I would give Yokasta Valle, I've been saying that for a long time though. I don't think she's going to 10-0 Yokasta Valle, but I also feel like Estrada's going to be so much better because she knows this is the fight she wants. When she goes for undisputed, that's the fight she's looking for anyway. So just like when you saw in Terrence Crawford, how he rose to the occasion, I could see a great fighter like Seniesa Estrada rising to the occasion and being better than she ever will when she fights Yokasta Valle, because she's been calling for that fight for a while now. So hopefully we see that next. Congrats to Seniesa Estrada. well-earned victory over Utica, and on to the next for her. Number 5. So this is a fight that I didn't get a chance to talk about earlier. I had mentioned it at the beginning of this, Inoue and Fulton. Another thorough domination by a top pound-for-pound fighter in Inoue. Now, what I want to say about that fight is I do believe, after watching now both Inoue earlier and then watching, or Inoue Fulton, and then watching Crawford Spence, I do have Crawford, or I would put Crawford as pound-for-pound number 1. I'm not big on pound-for-pound lists anyway, but I'm just saying I feel like Crawford is the top fighter out there. Just the way he dismantled Spence. And yes, Inoue did the same thing to Fulton, but when you look at fighter to fighter and levels to levels, I mean, Spence was at a higher level than what I would put Fulton at. So that's why I would say Crawford dismantling Spence is definitely a bigger accomplishment than Inoue dismantling Stephen Fulton. Both of them great achievements. Both of them were incredible. Both of them showed their talent and how talented they are and skilled they are. And both of them are freaking box office. Both of them are must-see TV anytime they fight. And man, boxing is in a great place. A great performance by Inoue, breaking down Fulton, stopping him, finishing him in his home country. And now he's going for Topolis to go for undisputed at 122. So we'll see. That'll probably be later this year as well. Now, I wonder if that's going to be in the States or if that's going to be in Japan. It's probably more money in Japan, so it'll probably be in Japan. But either way, I see Inoue being undisputed by the end of this year, or whenever he fights Topolis, whether it's beginning of next year or the end of this year, he's going to be undisputed. I don't see Topolis beating him. Not in the form Inoue is right now. Inoue's fire. He's in his prime right now. Nobody's stopping him. Not at that weight. Not at the moment. So great performance by Inoue. Can't wait for the next time he's out. I will be glued to the TV to watch it. And that's all I have for this top 5 under 5. So with this one, it was a tremendous week. We're going to be heading on to the next week, because we got boxing that happens every weekend. So we'll see what topics, what things of interest come up as we get ready for another weekend of boxing. It's going to be hard to top what happened this week. Wouldn't even say this weekend, but what happened this week. Seeing top pound-for-pound fighters be at the level that we expect them to be at. So that was incredible week, incredible weekend. I'm freaking tired. So you guys probably might be watching this and say, you don't sound the same as you normally do. Well, yeah, I'm a little tired, but I wanted to do this. I wanted to make sure I'm able to get this out. It's going to be a busy day for me tomorrow personally, but I'll catch y'all on the next one. The next week, y'all. Peace.